Lately, I've had so many thoughts cluttering my head. The good news is that they're positive thoughts, which I want to share with you. But just as I get overwhelmed by my physical clutter, I'm a bit overwhelmed with this mental, albeit positive, clutter. How should I organize these thoughts? What should be the theme for each video? How should I order the videos? And then analysis paralysis. So I've decided today enough with trying to come up with a perfect plan. Just pick something and do it. Upload it, and after that, I'll figure out the next one. I hope everyone's making it through the holiday season okay. I went to visit my mom. Back in video 42, Hard to Leave My Home, I shared how it was getting harder and harder for me to leave my home for trips away. I would get physically ill from the stress of trying to get my house in some semblance of order before leaving. I would come so close to missing my flight. I would start feeling nauseous on the cab ride to the airport and then puke on the plane. My temperamental refrigerator gave me angst because the defrost drain would freeze over while I was away. This last trip, I was nervous that I wouldn't make my flight on time. I didn't leave the house as early as I wanted to, but I wasn't as close to missing my flight as I have been in the past. So that's an improvement, right? I didn't feel really nauseous in the cab to the airport, and I didn't puke on the plane. This time, I definitely started preparing for my trip earlier. I've shared how I make my cat's food. So before I travel, I need to make a bunch in advance in individual portions. For this trip, I spread it out over several weeks prior so that it didn't feel so daunting. I wasn't having to make cat food meatballs right before my departure. They were crossed off my list at least a week before. Oh, the day I was leaving, one of my cats puked on the bed. Not something I wanted to deal with right before a trip, and it did add extra stress that I hadn't planned on, but I was able to launder everything before I left. I also did some mental preparation before visiting my mom. When I initially thought about what I wanted to do when I got to my mom's, I thought about how tired I was. The nonstop thoughts about hoarding are exhausting enough. Add all the preparation and cleaning before leaving my house, and I'm completely wiped by the time I get on the plane. So I thought, I'm going to ask mom if I could just sleep for 4 days because I need it. At home, I'm alone and I have no one to help me out. While I'm at my mom's, I just want someone to take care of me. But before my trip, I heard an interview with a comic whose sister took her own life due to depression. He adored his sister. He wanted to help his sister. But hearing him describe how draining it was to be around someone depressed, how annoying it was to be around someone depressed, that was like a splash of cold water in my face. I'm going to play it for you.
But I think that the horrible thing that must be the challenge to wrestle with is that they do get draining. They do get exhausting. It is annoying. Even when there's still part of you that's sort of like, just get your medication right.
Exactly.
Just like fucking.
It seems so uncharitable to say, but like no one talks about how a depressed person is fucking annoying, and they only talk about themselves.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of, hey, how are you doing?
Yeah.
Coming out of a depressed person.
Right.
So it just drains you, man. You can't do it forever, and
you can feel it. It's like there's something unspoken,
oh,
especially
God.
if it's family.
Yeah, and
you just walk into a room and you're like, oh, God.
There's a cloud in there.
Yeah.
After I heard that, I thought, I don't want to be a drain on my mother. I don't want to annoy my mother. When my mom and I video chat, if she sees me down or crying, she usually gets off the call pretty quickly. And that used to hurt me a lot because I felt like she didn't care about what I was going through. But after that splash of cold water in my face, I understood why she wants to get off the call. I put myself in her shoes. I don't have children, but it can't feel good to see your child suffering and not be able to do much about it because my mom can't fix my hoarding issues for me. That's on me. So I decided I wasn't going to just sleep for 4 days. My mom and I live on opposite sides of the globe. I wanted to make the most of our time together. Now, I didn't fake happiness, even though I have real challenges in my life, but I thought, what could we do that would be positive for both of us? I'm a beginner golfer, so I'm not very good, but I like it. My mom has golfed for decades. So I told my mom I wanted to get out on the golf course, and we did 3 times. One time it was raining, but even in the rain, we still had fun. There's also a beautiful lake in Taiwan that I hadn't visited in probably 40 years. So I asked my mom if we could go there, and she said, sure. The weather could not have been better. We woke up without an alarm, took in 2 breathtaking sunrises, walked around the lake, relaxed by the pool, and enjoyed the amazing view. We both loved being lazy. We decided to drive to the lake instead of taking the train. I got an international driving permit, so we split the time behind the wheel. My mom's singing teacher drives that route all the time and warned my mom about a specific area where they photograph speeding cars. After I returned home, my mom told me, "We got a speeding ticket in the mail." I thought the photo must have been taken while I was behind the wheel since I wasn't used to driving there and the signs are in kilometers instead of miles, blah, blah, blah. For sure, one time I caught myself going above the speed limit. But it turns out the photo was taken while my mom was driving, and it was in the exact area her singing teacher forewarned her about. My mom's got an admirable roll with it attitude. She said, "I'll have to earn that money back in Mahjong." Her outlook on the speeding ticket really stood out to me. She has a positive outlook. She sees a way to make up for it. Me? I have a negative outlook. I focus on what's been lost. I berate myself for the mistake I made. I would have said to myself, how could you be so stupid and not watch the speedometer when you were forewarned about that area? Even though I didn't get the speeding ticket and I'm not the one paying it, I started doing the math in my head to figure out if we would have been better off buying train tickets instead of driving and getting a speeding ticket. My mom makes a mistake and looks for the light. I see dark and I go darker. But I caught myself in that moment of doing the math and I recalibrated. I thought about the fun we had making it a road trip. On the way to the lake, my mom was driving and her cell phone rang. I answered it for her and held it up on speakerphone. It was my mom's sister. She and my mom chatted for 3 or 4 minutes. Right after the call ended and I hung up, my mom turned to me and said, "Who was that?" I just started laughing because my mom had carried on the conversation as though she knew who it was. She was asked a question and she just answered it. She just rolled with it. I talked to my brother the other day and he told me Mom was over the moon about your visit. And that meant so much to me. And not from a people-pleasing, self-sacrificing standpoint, which has been my pattern for most of my life and far too often ends up with me feeling resentment. We both had a great time. I made a conscious effort to change my attitude and behavior, and that led to a wonderful response from my mother. My mother can't fix my hoarding issues for me. She can't fix my depression for me. But she really tries to help me in other ways, like planning things for me to do that bring me joy. I'm super appreciative of that. The time we spent together was just fantastic. And my refrigerator was on its best behavior too. I'm grateful for both those things. Oh, sorry, I didn't expect to cry about that, but they're tears of joy. Okay, there's more stuff I want to share about my time with my mom, but I'll save it for the next video because this one's already way long.